Welcome to On Texas Football. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Gerry Hamilton. Gerry, we were out at practice yesterday. I got to ask you this. The running back room, and I mentioned this yesterday, completely revamped. I mean, it is rebuilt. There's nothing similar to from last year that you can really carry forward to this year. The only two returnees, James Simon, Michael Terry, they just did not play much. Ryan Niblett took running back one carries on day one. He's more of a boutique, do-it-all. Steve Sarkisian called him a Swiss Army knife. Your thoughts on how Brandon Harris, the personnel staff, Steve Sarkisian, Jabbar Jalouk, kind of remade that room this offseason, because it was very eye-opening on day one.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you have that much change, it catches your attention, right? We knew it obviously when we were going through it, but then when you see the guys in person is kind of when you kind of evaluate what they actually have. You know the stats for Rolette Brown and Hollywood Smothers. Well, I'd seen Derek Cooper in person multiple times down at Chaminade Madonna in Hollywood, Florida. And obviously, James Simon got some carries last year, and Michael Terry worked at running back much of the second half of the season. But when you look at it, I mean, the thing that stood out to me, Bobby, is the differences in frames. I mean, there's a lot. Look, the skill set, Rolette Brown is different from Hollywood Smothers, right? That's pretty easy. We've talked about that. But the difference in frames, too. My biggest takeaway, it has nothing to do with who's going to get carries and who's going to have the most rushing yards and whatnot. Derek Cooper easily has the best running back frame at that position. Like, easily, Bobby. I mean, we've been doing this a while. To see what he showed up at, naturally how proportioned he is and where he's going to go physically, he's a scary-looking prospect.
I agree with that. I mean, Michael Terry has a great frame as well, but he's a little bit longer. Derek Cooper has a more compact frame, to your point. I'll tell you who had a better frame than I thought was Rolette Brown. He's got a thicker lower body than you maybe realize. You saw him back there returning punts yesterday, Gerry, and he's super quick, can accelerate. In that regard, I'm not saying he is Jaden Blue in that regard, but he has some acceleration akin to that, in my opinion. And so Sark may have another piece of the puzzle with him. Hollywood Smothers rolled his ankle a little bit yesterday, late in practice, so didn't complete the entire thing, but he should be back fine on Wednesday, we're told. All in all, it's just a collection of talent right now that I think is very interesting, because Trey Wisner was the guy for 2 years. Cedric Baxter was supposed to be the guy for 2 years, but just didn't quite get healed after he was injured that sophomore year. And now to look at how – my point, I guess, and one of the reasons why I want to do this video, and I thought it was important for people to understand, is just how much rebuilt it is. Yeah. It's almost like you have the same home and you go in and do a complete renovation. And you walk in the door, you're like, your eyes like kind of wide open, because you just don't realize what you did or didn't have until it's completely different. And the Longhorn running back room is almost entirely different than anything possible. And I think that, Gerry, if we look at it in that regard, we're going to be talking about this for a while, because it was the one position where we knew Texas needed a renovation, for lack of a better term, right? They needed proven talent when they lost Trey Wisner. They needed high-end talent. They needed some game breakers. They need some guys that can help them out of the backfield. They needed a lot of those pieces. And everywhere I kind of look, I don't know about you, but I was like, check mark, check mark, check. I mean, everything was getting addressed. Explosiveness, a little bit more size, still be able to compete out of the backfield, catching the football, touchdown scoring. All of those elements are checked off, and then you add in, to your point, a guy like Derek Cooper, who can be a downhill back. I mean, he's got that frame, to your point, compact, and I mean, he's built like, you know what? I mean, he's a freshman.
Yeah.
And so I think I look at all of that, and I'm just amazed at what they were able to do this offseason.
Yeah, for sure. And what I like about what they've done is they got two frontline starter guys, starter level players with experience, right? But the one thing we do know is there's injuries at this position
Yes.
every single season. And Relic Brown is not a big guy. He's a compact guy, but he's still not a big guy. Hollywood Smothers is not a big guy. I mean, you're probably talking 5'10 3/4, 195. So neither one of those guys are big backs, and they're headed to a big back physical conference. What I love about the remake of this room is the depth beyond the two. Look, I thought James Simon looked really good in his opportunities last year as a freshman. Well, now he's a sophomore. And Derek Cooper, I think, has a chance to be an impact player, even in a running back room like this. So I think, and Michael Terry is just too much of an unknown for me. We haven't seen him carry a football in a college game, right? And I'm not leaving him out because I don't think he can play. He's an unknown. But the four guys that we talk about here, and by the way, Derek Cooper is repping ahead of Michael Terry yesterday on day one. So you need to point that out. And that doesn't mean the competition's over, but the running back, true running back reps went Brown, Smothers, James Simon, Cooper, then Michael Terry. But what I like is the potential depth of this room, which I think is as important as anything in long seasons. And especially you have 1 week off now and you play a 9-game SEC schedule plus Ohio State. We can both sit here and say we hope it doesn't happen, but we can almost guarantee that Brown or Smothers is going to miss a game or some time this year. It's happened every year. So I think that revamped room, that depth, I think is what I really like the way this is shaping up for 2026 season.
You mentioned those guys. Ryan Niblett actually took carry one. Now we don't consider him a true running back. Right. That's why you didn't mention him that way. And Sark in his post-practice media session called Niblett a Swiss Army knife. I find it interesting because I kind of think that's what Raleigh Brown is too. He just Brown may be more sudden than Niblett, in my opinion, and may have a little bit more escapability, if that makes sense, in the open field. I'm not talking about setting up blocks and stuff like that Niblett can do so well in a punt return game and then really put on the speed. It's going to be interesting how, like, in retrospect, just thinking about it, how Sark manages that room. I think all the pieces are there, Jerry, with success, by the way. I mean, I think, like we're talking about, it's completely remade. How do they handle it and massage all the pieces together? Because there's not that big back that is a one right now. Because Derek Cooper is your big back, but he's young. So how do you think Sark manages this group?
I think he's going to work from a position of managing this room to keep guys fresh. And then have a guy or two called that he can call upon in the fourth quarter.
I was going to say, who's the closeout guy? That's a good point because I can see.
I think the closeout guy running the football is Smothers based on his experience in college football. Look, I think Relic Brown is more of a instinctive running back and better running back than Jaden Blue. I think Ryan. See, I just take Ryan Niblett, put him in a totally different. You're not handing the ball to Ryan Niblett much. That's
not in the fourth quarter. You're not running the inside zone with Ryan Niblett.
No, and not even much in games. I mean, this is Ryan Niblett. You swing past to him, maybe run him on outside zone a couple of times, but I think Sark's going to manage this position to keep them as fresh as possible. But then when you're in one of those games, like you said, who's your closeout back? I think it's going to be Hollywood Smothers, based on his experience at the position and his ability to, I think, run every play in the playbook that Texas has. Because I don't think Relic Brown is an every play in the playbook running back. So I think it's going to be Hollywood Smothers unless Derek Cooper just goes and grabs it.
One thing we got to watch, and I do think it's possible Derek Cooper's your fourth quarter grinded out guy. I want to see if those guys, because Trey Weiser did a great job last year of protecting the football. Yeah. I do worry that both Relic Brown and Hollywood Smothers had fumbles last year, how that plays into what Sark ends up doing. But all in all, Jerry, I mean, we looked at each other when they went through drills and you're like, oh boy, this is just it's a different level of talent than what they had really the last 2 years, because when Cedric Baxter went down, they had Jaden Blue and Trey Wisner, but it was just they didn't have the other components. Yeah. You know what I mean? That made this a full-on team. You look at it, probably not the Bijan, Roshan, or even Jonathan Brooks level guys back there, but really NFL guys. You think Smothers and Brown are at this point?
I think it's likely, but neither one of those guys is big. So they're not. Those guys don't necessarily project to top 3 round guys. I don't think. I think they're more lower round guys. I think Derek Cooper is the highest NFL prospect at the running back position. I think one of the other
it just may take time.
It just takes time. Yeah. I think one of the other interesting things is, can Derek Cooper be what Cedric Baxter was in a 21 personnel? Because Cedric Baxter was a really good blocker. I don't look at Rollick Brown or Hollywood Smothers and think they're going to be a lead blocking running back in 21 personnel.
Yeah.
Derek Cooper,
or even for Arch Manning,
right?
QB keeps on the outside. I mean,
that's another added part to the running back equation, is who's going to start going to use in some of those situations.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to make clear to Texas fan base, I'm not mentioning Michael Terry because look, I've not really, he worked out at wide receiver in our media windows last year. We haven't seen him really do it as a running back.
Right.
So I've seen Derek Cooper in person, right? We've watched and seen what Smothers and Rollick Brown can do. We've seen glimpses of James Simon. So I want to make that clear for the fan base. It's not that I don't think Michael Terry can be a factor. We just haven't seen enough of him at running back. I mean, to really say that. But I think it's going to be interesting from a 21 person. I think Sark has more 21 versatility at this running back position too.
He's definitely got more depth to be able to do what Rod calls the pony package, et cetera, to your point. All right, Jerry, do you think Texas is going to have a 1,000-yard rusher this year? I mean, that's been a Sark thing.
In 12 games, I'm going to say no.
12 games, no, but perhaps overall. Who do you think's the leading rusher into the season? But this is just you and me spitballing here. Into the season, who leads the team in rushing out of this group?
If he has a healthy season, it'll be Smothers.
Okay. All right.
I think Rollick Brown will be the leading receiver out of the backfield easily.
I'm 50-50 on that. I think it could be Brown. I liked his lower body build if he can run inside, but we haven't seen him do that. And in the open media window, they were in shells yesterday. There was no inside run that we could see at all. So tough to gauge, but just overall, the reason that we wanted to talk about this today is just how much it has changed. It is categorical change. All right. Thanks so much, Jerry. We'll talk again soon. For Gerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. This has been On Texas Football. Hook 'em.